Welcome back to my channel. My name is Olive and this video is going to be an upper body mobility flow for the neck, the shoulders and the upper spine. So in terms of equipment, I would suggest your yoga block. If you don't have one, a chunky book will do. And if you have a long resistance band like this, please feel free to grab one. If you don't, you can use a yoga strap, you can use a belt, you can use a scarf, a tie, or the sleeves of a long sleeve jumper or sweater. But yeah, feel free to grab those. This class is suitable for hopefully all levels. I give a bunch of modifications and we're going to start kneeling. See you there. We're going to start sitting down, kneeling, whatever's most comfortable for you, and just start to work into our neck, shoulders and thoracic spine in terms of the joint spaces. So sitting down, you're going to take your right hand behind your back with your palm facing behind you. And from here, just start to involve the shoulder in some rolls backwards. Just finding a little bit of movement into that joint. And you can continue these rolls as you drop your chin down to your chest and then take your left ear towards your left shoulder. If you wanted to, you can of course just hang out in stillness and see what it feels like to just let that right shoulder relax. You could even start to take your head in various directions and positions, whatever it may be. Okay. And circle your chin back to your chest, look forwards, release the right arm, just give it a little shake. And let's take the left hand behind, again palm facing away, start to take it through some circular movements. Seeing how this side feels. And then chin down to your chest, taking right ear towards right shoulder, either involving that shoulder in stillness or finding a little bit more movement. You might observe one side feels tighter than the other, so see what you need to do to sort of respond to it a bit more accurately rather than just doing exactly what we just did. Okay. And then release chin to chest, release the arm, give that left arm a little shake. We're going to come down into a forearm tabletop position. So have the knees to the ground, the toes perhaps tucked, hips over the knees, and you're going to take your forearms, your elbows down to the ground. And on your inhale, I want you to arch your back. So draw the chin down to your chest, really drive through the elbows, draw the belly button away from the floor. And then on the exhale, let the belly relax, squeeze your shoulder blades together, looking ever so slightly forwards. Now you can use and move with that breath cue that I just gave, the inhale to arch, the exhale to soften, or you can go with whatever feels best for you. Continuously moving or hanging out in one of the positions for a little bit longer. Okay, let's go for one more breath in each position. And then just returning up to a neutral tabletop and then coming down back into your seated position. So take hold of your strap or your resistance band, your scarf, your tie, your belt, whatever it is. And we're actually going to prop up onto our knees. So coming up into an upright kneeling stance. Now with your strap, I want you to hold it wider than your shoulders and don't have any slack in it. So you want to kind of take it out. You're going to start with it down by your hips and start to lift it up and over your head and take it behind you as far as you can go without bending your elbows. We want to keep the arms straight and see if you can maybe bring it to tap your lower back and then circling it forwards. So you might need to take the hands wider or closer together depending on how hard or how easy it feels. But it's just quite a nice movement for the shoulders to go through. Another nice option you can play around with is when the band is overhead, just gently bending side to side, or maybe even going through like some full circular movements. Obviously a resistance band is quite nice to use because it offers a little bit of elasticity as opposed to like a belt or a yoga strap. Okay, we're going to do it one more time each way. And then release and shake it out. Okay, so you can pop your strap off to the side. Hopefully the joints of the neck, the upper spine and the shoulders are feeling nice and good. Now we're going to have a little look at some dynamic mobility movements and some stretches. So we're going to start with some waves from a child's pose forwards into a cobra, so spinal waves. We're going to bring ourselves down into child's pose first of all. So allowing the hips to sink back to the heels, arms extending out in front of you, and it's quite a nice active child's pose. So we're kind of pushing into the hands rather than just softening and relaxing here. So in your child's pose, take an inhale. You're going to start to lift up and forwards, rolling into a tabletop position. When you start to bring the shoulders over the wrists, keep the arms nice and straight, let the hips slow down to the ground, keep pushing through the hands, lifting through the chest and up into your cobra position. And then from here we roll with the chin first, lift up through tabletop and then back into our child's pose. So that's one way we can move with it. Another way is we inhale to roll forwards into our tabletop, and then we let the whole body come down to the ground, and then lift through a baby cobra or full cobra. And then again we roll back, pressing to child's pose. So out of those two, just kind of select which one you want to roll with, and just take your time to flow through the sequence. Sometimes it's really enjoyable to move slowly in these spinal waves, so you can really pay attention to the 4 different segments of the spine. You can, of course, change it up and start to add in your own bits. A nice option is to replace the tabletop with the downward dog, so rolling forwards and then coming down. Again, just see where your body, your brain takes you. I'm going to say, let's go for one more round of the spinal wave. And then arriving back into your child's pose, taking a moment, maybe gently start to sway the body side to side. And then bringing yourself all the way up into a kneeling stance. You can either have the feet flat or the toes tucked. See what you feel like is most comfortable as we take Reclined Hero. So, hands are going to go behind you, fingertips or flat palms, or maybe even on top of your yoga block. You're going to squeeze your shoulder blades together, lifting the chest, sort of increasing the distance between ribs and hips, and letting the head slowly fall behind you, if that feels comfortable, or you can stay looking forwards. Another option is to lift your glutes off your heels. Another option is to keep hands on the floor, lift glutes off heels from there. Or maybe you want to interlace the hands behind your back. Either way, we're going to hold here for 3 more breaths. Feeling the breath moving into the lungs, into the diaphragm. Take one more breath. And then soften, bring your chin to the chest, release, coming all the way forwards, and maybe just roll through your wrists. Give them a little bit of a flick, give them a little bit of a shake. Okay, lovely. So our next movement, we are going to come down onto our belly, and I like to call these lying lizard reaches. So you're going to come down onto your belly, and then from here, hands underneath your shoulders, just bending your left leg. You're going to bring your left knee out towards the left-hand side. Whether it's at 90 degrees or the heel is in or the leg is higher, it doesn't matter. So from here, you're going to take your right elbow down to the ground out in front of you in a position where you feel nice and supported. And your left arm is going to reach out in front, palm facing inwards. Then we take a big sweep, reach it over our head and then behind. And again, taking it forwards. So just starting to see how that left shoulder feels as we involve it in these rotations. Really strong, driving into the right elbow to help feel that support. Lightly pushing into the legs as well. Let's go one more time. And then we're going to swap sides over. So release that left leg behind, maybe make a pillow with your hands and just let your hips rock side to side. As you do that, I'm going to switch angles so you can still see the side bend going on. And then taking your hands under your shoulders, bending your right leg again. We're going to scoop it out towards the side into a position that feels most comfortable. Left elbow down to the ground, right arm out in front, reaching up and over your head, taking it behind you, creating these half moon shapes or half circular shapes, palm facing out as we reach behind. Driving into the elbow, driving into the legs, supporting the body. Let's go one more time. And as you come forwards, releasing, resetting the right leg, make a pillow with your hands, let your hips rock side to side. And then we're going to press into our tabletop position and come into puppy pose. So maybe have your block to hand, like out in front of you, between the hands, to whatever height you want. We're going to keep the hips over the knees, start to walk the hands out in front of us. Pushing through the hands, let the chest slowly lower towards the ground. You can take your forehead on top of the block if you like. You don't have to. And just slowly allowing our spine and shoulders to come into extension. Lowering as much as you are happy with. Pushing into the hands to perhaps bring some sensation towards the armpits and the muscles around the shoulders and the shoulder blades. We're going to take one more breath here. And then looking forwards and walking the hands all the way in. Maybe just have a little roll through your shoulders, a little move into your spine, whatever it might be. Okay, cool. So from here, we are going to bring ourselves into a movement called a roll up, and then into like a lying extended bridge reach. Will make sense in a second. So I'm going to turn myself around. We're going to start with the feet bent, and we're going to lie down on our back. So the first half of the movement is just to get used to the position of the legs and to get used to driving into one arm. So what we're going to do is take our left arm directly above our head, and we're going to try reach diagonally towards the right knee. So in order to do that, push into your right arm, start to lift the head and shoulders, reach towards the right hand side with your left hand, and then slowly curl down. And then swap the hands over, push into the left arm, reach up with the right hand on that diagonal, and then curl down. So because we're moving slowly and we're controlling the roll up, flexion into the spine, it can feel quite intense towards the trunk, so towards our core. So we're going to do one more on each side, and then we're going to move into the next half. Cool, and then come down. So kind of what we've learned from that is, again, using the trunk to bring us up into flexion. We're now going to use a very similar point of awareness with the elbows to the ground to lift our trunk and come into extension, but we're reaching behind us. So we're going to keep that right elbow down to the floor. We're going to lift the hips, roll onto the right shoulder, reach the left arm up and over our head on a diagonal to the right but behind us. And then come back down. Take the left elbow to the side, roll up over to it, lift the hips, reaching right hand above the head, and then back down. So it's a real nice opportunity to have this lovely side body stretch. Take your time with it. If you don't necessarily feel comfortable with the butt lifting off the ground, you can do it with the butt still to the ground. That is fine too. Or you could even start to have the legs a little bit straighter. So you're just resting onto the heels, and it's a little bit more hamstring dominant. Let's do one more each direction, whether it's the roll up or the reach back, just for good luck. One more. Beautiful, bring it all the way back down. You're going to hug your knees into your chest and let yourself rock side to side. Lovely. Okay. So from here, let's bring ourselves up into a seated position, rocking up and down 2 or 3 times. And to come into our stretch, we're going to take a wide-legged forward fold. So come to stand with the feet wider than your hips. And then from there, bending the legs, bringing the hands down to the ground. We're going to start by walking both hands over towards our left ankle. So keep your left leg straight, drop your chin down to the chest, and you're just going to bend in and out of the right leg. And what that can offer is a real nice stretch down the right-hand side of the body. So feel free to hang out there if you wanted to. Take one more movement on this side. Release the hands, walk them over to the other side, holding the right leg and then bending in and out off the left. Again, feel free to just hang out if it felt good. Let's go for one more. And then release. Bring and walk the hands back round to the middle. And you're going to bring yourself down to a seat. So final little thing before we finish off with a mini game. We're going to have a look at some shoulder internal and external rotation. So this is particularly beneficial, I have found, after spending long hours hunched in this position, working on my laptop, eating, sitting, watching TV, whatever it might be. So you're going to sit in a straddle position. You're going to start by bending your right leg, just so that we can prop our right elbow up onto it. Now, ideally, we would have like quite a light weight, about 1 kilo, 2 kilos in this hand. You could use a wine bottle. You could use your water bottle. I'm just going to use my yoga block because it is technically weighted. So we're going to keep this elbow resting on the knee, and we're going to try keep it there. And we're just going to bring this arm forwards, coming into internal rotation, keeping the contact, and then taking it back, and behind us, going to external rotation. Try not to lift the elbow up. And just moving in and out. So you'll see why it's beneficial to have like extra resistance, because you start to observe the muscles perhaps working and firing a little bit more as opposed to quite a light weight. And you'll notice that you have a lot more range internally than you do externally. And yeah, because we're isolating into this area. Okay. Let's do one more each way. And then swap over, so relax the right leg, bend the left leg, left elbow onto the knee, holding your object and then going in, and then back out. You can also stabilise yourself with your right hand. But yeah, I like to do this before I go climbing, because it just helps the shoulders get nice and warm. So yeah. Feel free to obviously incorporate it into your warm-up for whatever movement modality you do. Okay, let's go one more each way. And then release and relax. And to finish off with, we're going to do kneeling tabletops. So sometimes I have taught like standing, not tabletops, teacups. Kneeling teacups. I usually teach it standing, but we're going to do it kneeling and get the other arm involved. So coming into your kneeling position, whether it's upright or down, start with your block or your book flat into your right palm. I don't want you to grip with your fingertips. Now the idea is that we start by creating a circle away from us and then draw it back inwards and then see if we can circle around completely. So it's kind of like creating a figure 8, going up and then down the body. It's going to be harder to do this because the rest of the lower body is not really in use right now. See if you can change direction, but what we can do is stabilize ourselves with the other hand to the floor. You can even bring it to a half kneeling position, whatever it might be. Obviously, don't worry if you drop the block, that's completely fine. Let's do one more breath on the right arm. And then swap it over into the left hand. Get used to the movement first of all, taking it through these circles away and then back into the body. And then away again, stabilize through your right hand on the floor. See if you can change direction. Maybe come to a kneeling stance, half kneeling. And take one more breath. And then bring it all the way back down. Wicked. So I hope your neck, your shoulders, your upper back is feeling wonderful after that. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and let me know what you would like to see more of, and I'll see you next time. Into an upright kneeling stance. Now with your strap, you are